All right. Thank you, Leah, and hello, everyone. Welcome to our session for today. So I'm just gonna try to see whether I can start to share my screen. Is it on for everyone?
Yes.
All right. So let's see. My presentation shouldn't be that long. So there will be also another presentation after mine from Susanna. But our topic for this day is pretty much similar. It's about the intangible cultural heritages in Wikidata. But for me, in particular, I will tell you about my experience so far in modeling about these cultural heritages in Wikidata for Indonesian cultural heritages. And because we have a specific national registry for it, and how it has been used by the community in our events and such, and of course the challenges that we met so far. But first, I will give a little bit of impression what intangible culture means for you who might not be so familiar with the topic itself. So intangible culture is the culture that you can experience every day. So for you, according to UNESCO, it will be like cultural practices or Christian knowledge and skill. But the difference is that it's of non-physical intellectual wealth. So it's not necessarily non-physical in the terms of its spiritual or supernatural, but it means that it can be can it's more about the practice and the people who practice it and the culture who practice. I mean, in simple terms like languages, those are also intangible cultures. So you cannot it's not necessarily non-physical like you might imagine, but it's it's there. It still exists in the physical world, but it's just being able to what I usually able to understand it myself is whether I can copy it or whether I can teach it to someone else. The intangible cultures are usually that, so it would be involved like this. These two are traditional dances from several regions of Indonesia. This one is from East Nusa Tenggara, and this one is from East Java. Um, so traditional dances like this, those are included in the intangible cultures. Uh, I will share my presentation later in Wikimedia Commons, and there will be clickable links inside, so you can see further readings about the slide. So about the Indonesian for Indonesia itself, we have a local register by country's government at this website. So there are special designation by the UNESCO themselves, and but for Indonesia, we also have a similar designation for intangible cultures by the local government. So the ministry already recorded about 11,000 of intangible cultural heritages since 2010. You can see all of them in this site. I think I have it open in another tab right now. Yeah, this site. I can since there are a lot of this this 11,000 intangible cultures, so it is no wonder that we in the Indonesian Wikimedia community often made it a simple source to be used sometimes in our online meetup events or in editing and training for new volunteers and like such, uh, where we use these mainly these attributes in Wikidata. This is what we use so far though. Mainly the P8325, which is the special identifier for the site that you seen before here. And also these three attribute. Uh, I just remembered that in English it's not attributes, it's English, it's properties. We call it attributes in Indonesian. So I'm sorry for the for the maybe not, yeah, well, still similar term used in this presentation. So these properties, the intangible cultural heritage status, and also this one, we always use the value national inventory of Indonesian intangible culture. Indigenous too, we use this to relate the cultural heritage to whether the province or region of origin, and the ethnic group that may be associated with that intangible culture. And the country of origin, we use it to put the Q252 Indonesia in the item. But these are what we have been using so far. Uh, we did not have any kind of like uh, it's more like a convention that is mostly agreed upon by the local community. But this is why I am curious uh, whether it is also agreed upon by the global community, or maybe we can have some inputs later on. I've already talked to Susanna before today, and she will explain a lot of ways in modeling these intelligible cultures. So, but these are what the properties that we have been using so far. So, I have two kinds of, but in using those properties, I have and we rather we in the Indonesian volunteer community, we have experienced some smooth and good editing experience in putting those intangible cultures some problem examples.
Wait, Rima, can I interrupt you for a second? Your connection is a little bit low, so maybe if you if you
Should I?
hide your camera, it's gonna make it a little bit better.
Okay, I'll try. All right. Uh, is it better now
It is
or
better. Thank you. Can you take it
okay?
away? Maybe two sentences before because we didn't hear the end.
Okay. So, in our experience in the Indonesian volunteer community in using the official source of intangible cultures, and some are rather easy and you can say like smooth when we try to put it in Wikidata and modeling them into Wikidata items, but some may not be as easy, and it's particularly difficult with when working with volunteers who have different kind of experience and knowledge skills about Wikidata. And so when they encounter constraints, we need to kind of like stop and then explain that it's okay, it's maybe budget for this particular item, but we will I will show you several examples that it may not be which on what terms that may not be as easy. This one are the quote unquote the good examples. This is a particular traditional horse race. You can see this. It's really kind of uh, it's okay. We have no problem at all in this item so far. You can call it like a good example of intangible culture item. And this one is the one without image, but it still also doesn't really have any problem inside the statements. So I'll show you the rather uh, the ones that have some problems. So this one is about a traditional ceremony, and we can see that several of the statements in this part. There are two of these statements here of origin that we use here. It of course met with subject type constraint because uh, I have tried to use we have tried to use the instance of and subclass of in for ceremony, but it's still met with this subject type constraint. So uh, yeah, although the country of origin already in this type of, you can say, type of cultures, it still doesn't include
Rima, I'm afraid we're losing you completely. Can you stop for a second? Oh wow. All right. Sorry for the technical issues. Let's see if she's able to join back. It's very likely internet connection issues. If she doesn't come back in, let's say 1 minute, I suggest that maybe we can continue with Susanna, and then hopefully we're gonna catch Rima later for the end of the presentation and also discussions. Is that fine for you, Susanna?
Yes, that's fine. Just so sorry for Rima, but I hope we can come together at the end. Um, are you okay with the option?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. All right. Let me see what I see here. I'm going to share my screen and window and trying to find the right one. And we're going to see this eternal loop probably first. I don't know. And then going to go to the presentation. I've packed this with a lot of material, so I'm going to have a timer for myself to see to keep time. So I'm going to talk about modeling living heritage. We have this quote is from the Wiki project. I don't know whether the Wiki project existed, but from discussions around the um, the designation item, and the resolution or the comment was that it's a total mess. So that's kind of what got me interested in this. So this year we have worked on this project, Wiki Loves Living Heritage, and this is the front page. I'll show you a few pages of it just from my browser here. I hope you see it. And here, this is the first, the front page that has been created around it. So as Rima was mentioning, it is a UNESCO concept, and this is the 20th anniversary of the convention, which started collecting, safeguarding living heritage, and this is done around the world in the member states of UNESCO. Of course, living heritage goes beyond that, and I think that is the statement that we want to make, that it's not only like these officially recognized items of living heritage, because it's specifically it's everyday culture and therefore we don't want to limit it to the like officially recognized ones. So here we have a page that has been created from the the items from the inventory of intangible cultural heritage of Indonesia. We have around 300 on Wikidata, and not all those 11,000 yet, but that's when it's going to get tricky for displaying them on wiki pages when like this page should have in fact 11,000 items that all have these like very complex templates, and so we need some display mechanisms for that. So there's also another page which collects um, these items based on country. In this case, as like a sovereign state, but it could be any other area as well, or any theme. That it's not only those that have been officially designated in that specific inventory or list or so, but also things that have this common denominator, in this case, the country. And well, this is in the next slide. So I'll just show it briefly because I seem to go back to back to the tabs. So there are two things now, like two places where discussions and guidelines exist. The other one I started like a year and a half ago on Wikidata, the Wiki project Intangible Cultural Heritage, which is so much of a like blurb of like realizing like diving into this mess and trying to make sense what is wrong around the projects and modeling and so on, and why is it a mess and so on. So when I realized that it's the text, the project itself is such a mess that if I wanted to people to use, to understand, to work on this, we created this how to import an inventory page in the project itself, and it's an like a living document for the modeling issues. So it has these like guidelines for working with the institutions, the so-called focal points, the organizations that do the safeguarding in each country. This year it's very much focused on the UNESCO system, and I think while going forward we will then expand it beyond like nation states and to different cultures and different types of user nominated content and so on. So the modeling suggestions are also listed here. So going back to the presentation, and so it means that cleaning up all Wikimedia projects, we needed to look at everything that happens around the projects related to like how are they structured. So the key issue came up first, like there are two different items for intangible cultural heritage, first of all. So the first one is linked to Portuguese Wikipedia and the Commons category. And the second one is linked to all other Wikipedias and the Portuguese one as well. There's another other page related to intangible cultural heritage. But there are so many different aspects that these collate that they could be made more granular. So there's the concept of intangible cultural heritage, and then there are the set of lists that UNESCO maintains. There are 3 lists, and like a previous one, actually 4. And then like any of these specifically, like the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And then there are the national inventories that these focal points in each country maintain, and then probably something else as well. So Wikimedia Commons has also some confusion around this, but I think it's more manageable. Wikipedias are, of course, a challenge because they define what items there are in Wikidata very much. So what makes an item living heritage? So the whatever the correct value for intangible cultural heritage is, you cannot put it into any the properties in Wikidata for a single item. So it's not P31, it's not 2P, well, I'm not sure if I should open this up here, but I think most people know, but okay. It's not it's not subclass of, it's not an instance of a subclass of intangible cultural heritage, nor it is not a designation. This is the P3259 is the, gosh, um, the designation property. So you cannot put intangible cultural heritage there either. So what it is the official designation. So in the intangible cultural heritage status P3259, you will have the register as a value, like the national inventory or the UNESCO list. And the type of them is a subclass of heritage register of intangible cultural heritage. Or it can be nominated by anyone by like putting it into, or like tagging it with the wiki project intangible cultural heritage. That could be modeled in a different way, but it's how we decided to tag it. So user nominated and officially recognized. So I like to make this concept of bad constraints. So bad constraints are the attempt to define what is living heritage, and they are put into the constraints of many of these properties that are used in this context. So the P255 lists that the instance of the item must be subclass of these values. So I'm not sure. I'm proposing here to remove the constraint altogether. I'm not sure. Maybe it requires some guidance, but the attempt to describe, define living heritage in these places is doomed to fail. And also the other one, like because it's intangible and not tangible, like the reasoning for someone has been that it must not have mass. Well, it doesn't work in many cases because there are instruments, musical instruments, which are in fact, as you can see, like part of the previous constraint. That like allowed values. So they don't. These are just examples. These are repeated in many of these, and I think these are the kinds of discussions we would like to have. So bad constraints for the UNESCO ICH ID. Well, this is just, I think this is very normal. So there's the single value constraint and the unique value constraint, and there are edge cases. I think especially for the unique value constraint, I think this applies also to Wikilove's monuments, in that many there are clusters of objects that kind of want to have the nomination or the ID or the recognition or the emblem in their, like, let's say, Wikipedia page. And why should we maybe make an abstraction above those that like cluster, like the Japanese festivals in this case, that only has this nomination, and not allow the festivals themselves to say that they are living heritage recognized by UNESCO. Okay, so what is different from the P145, the tangible heritage, the monuments idea, is that there is no designation item between. We just want to add the registry directly. I think this is my idea, to keep it economic, and I hope it could stay that way. It has been really helpful instead of making these abstract items that are arbitrary. We should discuss this. So how this is one of the I'm spending a lot of time. So one of the big questions is that we are creating pages. We want to make links to these entries in these inventories for each of those components that you saw on the pages. So here's Turkish coffee. On the left, you see how it's displayed on the site in English. And if we were able to tap into the, the name and the link, depending on the user's language, and with the fallback to English or the only available language, we would be able to make these different links. And now we cannot do all that. We would have all the information, but the modeling doesn't allow. So, and also the condition for this is that the URL and the title of the element in all available languages should be in the designation statement rather than in a separate statement. And let's go forward with the green line. So if we choose to put them in the designation statement, here's the whole blurb. We're not going deep into it. And so what qualifiers are there? So the suggested or the recommended one is the maybe for databases subject named as, but it's not monolingual. So in order to be able to say which language the title is, we need to use title or official name. Then I just realized World Heritage uses official name, so it might be the better one. And now we are using title. And described at URL is like an unorthodox idea to add the link into the qualifiers. But qualifiers also need the language, and to match the right title and the language, we would need to have the language because they are all in one pile. So it's not, there's no answer. And it could be in the source statement, but also the challenge is that the source is not necessarily the same as the inventory. Okay, so going into the whose heritage is this? Like, what kind of um, properties to use to say where does it come from? So there are like four different ones that we've been promoting. And I have just like while making this and like previously changed my mind about the best solution. I think country is best for countries because it's vague enough. It doesn't say that this comes from here. It doesn't make a statement about that. And like this encouraging the use of country of origin because it does make such claims. And actually also those constraints are reflecting that. Oh gosh, going to the last minute. Um, Indigenous too is very useful because it acknowledges people and geographic locations across borders, and it does imply origin and it must be used with caution. Culture, and the difference between culture and indigenous too is a little bit vague to me. I don't know. So, okay, Wikidata, give me all the living heritage of the world. So how could we do this? We haven't used the living heritage concept in any of the properties. So I think we need to work on some kind of and I'm going over time, ontology of living heritage, which is that we could maybe work on the hierarchy of heritage element types and then be able to use that in the constraints. We could also work with the UNESCO thesaurus and other controlled vocabularies, which would benefit the GLAM partners a lot when they can link to like a very commonly shared structure. And well, again, like where to put living heritage in this ontology. And then there's also the UNESCO ICH domains that all the member states use in some form. And there are like five main categories of items, heritage elements, as they say. And maybe this could somehow be brought into this context. So just an advertisement. I have done a couple of presentations around this from different perspectives. The first one is the Bring Your Data to Wikilove's Living Heritage at WikiDataCon, and then stretching meta about the use of this data on Meta, which was presented at GlamWiki just last month. And thank you for your attention. Whew, that was quick. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Can we try and see if we can get Rima back for the end of her presentation?
Hi, Leah.
Hi, welcome back. All right, Susanna, if you can stop sharing your screen, I still see it. And then Rima, you can try again.
Right, let's hope my ISP doesn't pull some shenanigans this time. Okay, where did I leave you off? When I explained
Yeah, you were
this
looking
one,
at these
or
constraints. Yeah.
so I was, so I was actually continue explaining until the end of my presentation for 4 minutes, and I just realized that I'm no longer connected to the meeting. Anyway, I'm sorry everyone for the difficulties. So these are the constraints that we oftentimes encounter in adding some of these cultural heritages. This one is the farming system one. It's a rather unique one, I must admit, uh, because it may not be as often as other. It may not as be often of a type of an intangible culture like probably ceremonies or probably traditional dances. It's where people have their rice will divided basically like a spider web like this. It's from East Nusa Tenggara, and we encounter this constraint, all of these constraint from indigenous too, and also in country of origin, and also even in intangible cultural heritage status. So I'm just gonna be rather quicker. This one is the right of cutting off one of among the first hair of a newborn. So it's from Gorontalo in the island of Sulawesi. We encountered the subjective constraint again. Uh, it We try to register it as a supplies of a right. It still encounter this constraint, and this one is only a qualifier constraint, so it doesn't really it's not really a big problem. But we still encounter this for indigenous too. In this item we encounter all of these three, and also in this one we encounter mainly in the country of origin but not indigenous too. So you can see that some of the properties we use, some allows several kinds of item, but the other one are not. In some other item it's the inverse. Some other items encounter in all of the properties. So yeah, in that regards, I welcome all the inputs from the wider community, because we mainly devise these conventions just among the local community ourselves. And there are a lot of inputs already I've seen in Susannah's presentation, and I hope we can discuss a lot after this. Thank you. I give the floor back to Leah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for these two very insightful presentations. So now we still have around 10, 12 minutes for questions and discussions. So while I'm browsing the chat for question, if some people want to speak, feel free to just unmute your microphone and say something.
Someone asked me in the chat, should I answer them
Yeah, go for it.
in the
Read
chat also?
read the
Oh,
question if you don't mind, and then you can answer.
yeah. Mm. So they were wondering if the Indonesian heritage data input to Wikidata was done manually, automatically, or hybrid. Mostly manually, because in online meetup events, we guide all of the participants with different knowledge on Wikidata, with different experience before in editing Wikidata. So in using the official registry as the source, we try to in some ways we try to teach all of the participants disregarding whether they have a lot of experience or not before in editing Wikidata. Um, in adding those intangible cultures into Wikidata. So in using those sources, we also try to teach them how to use qualifiers, how to use references, other than just editing the labels and the statements, uh, base statements alone. Yeah, mostly manually. Automatic editing, maybe perhaps some users already are editing the identifiers part of the cultural heritages, because you can basically check them. If you have a list already prepared, you can check them whether they are correct or not, or if if they are not having the identifier statement before, you can add in automatically. But most of the other statements, like indigenous too, like even intangible cultural heritage status, those are mainly done manually. Right, you're welcome.
Thank you. Do we have more questions for Rima or Susanna?
Uh, like even with the threat of like cannibalizing the next heritage presentation, I would like to Nicola and Ismail to maybe chip in a little bit, if they saw some common challenges that we could now also discuss.
Of course, let's go for it if you're fine with that, Nico.
Thank you. Good. Oh, you don't have a mic, but we can be your voice. I hear something.
Oh, we also have Ismail, who's also gonna talk during the next session on modeling heritage. Do you want to say something?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, yes.
Hi, hi, hi. Now, first, just to congratulate Susanna because she is making an awesome work, not just with the templates of Meta. To me, it's more complex that work maybe than the data modeling, which is
Thank you.
really more transcendent. No? But I understand the difficulties. Okay, I think most I want to say I will tell later, but to me has been very important to see how she designed at least the essential of the data model with the how to use the property, because it helped me to confirm some of the ideas I have related with the protected areas. As I will say too, she is establishing a common pattern, a best practice about the heritage, and this is exactly what I want to follow with my proposal. So I I'm happy. I'm happy, and I see some future for this proposal of mine, which usually doesn't happen to me. Whenever I proposing something is discarded because any reason. No, so maybe this time I have some opportunity. And if I can answer something you want to question now, I'm available.
But I also have to praise Ismail for the amazing amount of intangible cultural heritage items you have brought to Wikidata, and it's probably behind the impressive numbers that there are. There are like thousands of items from Spain, from the different, also regional inventories. And I think in that case, there are also inventories that are not in the UNESCO system, which is like paving the way for the future.
Well, maybe I can add something. Um, it, of course, you started focusing on the UNESCO inventory, and when I tried to help, I found well, I'm working a lot with Andalusian heritage because I live in here and we have not so bad open data portal, and now I have a near relation with the institution managing this, so it's to me it's an obvious face. But it's important to say that in the past, when my colleagues of Wikimedia Spain started the Wikilaws folk, because the Wikilaws folklore started in as a project in Spain. mm, and now I can imagine the complexity my friends found when how we can approach this, because it's really complex how to just to put in Wikidata. And well, not only in Wikidata but in lists, because they started with the appending list in Wikipedia in Spanish. So they go to something called a festival of tourist interest, which is a kind of figure in Spain. I think it has no protection at all. It's just some kind of nominal or maybe a marketing level managed by essentially by government. And this has been a fountain, a source of data of the festival, and then you start to find some of them are recognized by UNESCO, and others are can fit, which is starting a new problem. Is how should I model the festival, and how should I instantiate uh, instances of the same kind of thing which are not exactly the same. For example, in Spain we have this thing of the I don't know the name in English, the water tribunal, in which people of agricultures, farmers set together and decide the right to distribute the water, the time to access to the public water. And this came from centuries, a lot of centuries. So but in Spain, in inventories in Spain, we have two different ones, one from Valencia and one other from Murcia. So it will be another trouble to solve, is how to model this, or how to instantiate, how to subclass maybe this kind of activities, because they are at least very well recognized here in Spain. Is because I'm talking because Spain is the thing I know. No, probably it's happening in some way or another. Other cases are the festival of Christian and Moors, which is a very typical in the Mediterranean coast of Spain. There are a lot of instances. Some of them are recognized in inventories too. So this is a Pandora box, and I don't know how to really to do this, but I'm postponing. And maybe at some time I have I would be brave enough to attack the problem.
May I, for the water tribunals, just because it just happens to be a real life example, there are like two different elements, like the Murcia and the other one, I can't remember, blah, blah.
Valencia.
Valencia, okay. But I think that there is also now this is the case where there are three items. We talked about the Bonnie and Clyde yesterday. So for them, there is like a joint, like that puts them together and has the nomination, the UNESCO nomination, and then they are both elements of their own, or like items of their own. And I think like this is my statement, that they all should have the UNESCO label, so that because UNESCO nominates or designates the whole group, then it should not go to this abstract instance, it should also be, the label for both. Yeah.
Let's see in the future.
Yeah, it's there already. So let's discuss it when you enter. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much again, Susanna and Rima. Thanks, Ismail and Nicola, for contributing. And as a reminder, their session is going to come in a little bit more than 1 hour, modeling heritage, protected areas, and monuments. So make sure to also follow this one.
May I just one more
Yes.
question? I would like to maybe bring this link problem to the modeling session in the afternoon, or like a few hours from now. Isn't
Yes,
there?
of course. In the we have the data modeling clinic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're
Oh,
welcome to join.
thank you.
All right. Thank you.